to force radio stations to pay them more money simply to play their music. Don't let radio go silent. Text LOCAL to 52886 and tell Congress to protect local radio stations. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Warner Hospital providing ENT health and otolaryngology services to DeWitt County with Gibson Area Hospital and Dr. Jonathan Glickstein. Your ENT health is important, and Dr. Glickstein is an experienced otolaryngologist specializing in ear, nose, and throat conditions and head and neck surgery, dedicated to excellence in patient care for the best ENT services. Now seeing patients at the Warner Specialty Clinic in Clinton. To book your appointment in Clinton, call 217-784-2808.
Thank you for listening to this Miller Media Group radio station. We appreciate you making the choice to tune in to us. We want to remind you of some things to keep the attorneys happy. Our stations allow one winner per household in a 30-day period. Cash prizes are mailed to our winners within 30 days of winning. And as you've probably already guessed, portions of today's programming on this Miller Media Group radio station were pre-recorded and are mechanically or digitally reproduced. There. Now we've made the attorneys happy. Thanks again for listening to this Miller Media Group station.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Curt Homann is the executive director of the DeWitt County Development Council, my guest in studio. Good morning, Curt. Happy New Year.
Good morning. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for making time for us here for this morning. And so we spent December, our time together, talking about 2022 and all the things that DCDC did. And I feel like we probably really only scratched the surface on everything that happened in the year, which was kind of a short year for you because you came on in March or April.
No, it actually was a full year. It actually was a full year.
Oh, was it really?
It really was. Yep.
Okay, I don't know why. I thought you came on in the spring, but be all that as it may. 2023. So let's look ahead. What's on the horizon for you in DCDC this year?
Well, we actually have, our calendar year actually runs May to May. So we're actually starting our, we always do planning, every meeting we have planning that goes on, but we're starting our plans for our year. And of course the calendar change is always a big time for me and other businesses as well with some changes. So the first thing I want to mention is for those listening or for those out there that have made resolutions to start a business, to expand their business, to make business changes, to start a side hustle, that's a big part of the economy now. DCDC is here to help free of charge with directions, guidance, potential money sources, all kinds of things. So those that have made those resolutions for this year or even next year and are planning now and say I'm going to start 2024. Reach out, reach out to us and we can sit down and make sure that's a good, easy, smooth transaction.
Gotcha. So when it comes to just somebody wanting to sit down with you, what kinds of how can you help them, Curt? Like if, they called you up and say, I need help, but I don't really know where to start, or maybe I'm at this point, but I don't know where to go next. Where do you consider your expertise to be in the world of business, I guess?
So it really depends on where that business is. So if the business is non-existent at this point and really someone has an idea or a thought, a lot of times it is, just pointing them in directions. Okay, you need to make sure, have you found location? Okay, what are you looking for in location? So sometimes it's helping with space or ideas or space sharing or something along those lines that makes that business work. And then it's getting them to other professionals. So an insurance professional, a lending professional, if that's something that's going to be needed. Sometimes it's help with formation of the business from a legal or a tax perspective. So how do I get a tax ID number? How do I, should I be a LLC? Should I be a sole proprietorship? And again, I don't give legal advice, but I can certainly give some direction and point them in the right direction and say, here's what a lot of people do and here's why they do that.
Well, a lot of connecting, it sounds like, too, networking.
Certainly.
Even.
Yeah. Certainly. And a lot of times it just needs somebody else that's not invested in their business, or so maybe it's a a husband and wife and they're talking about it and they get excited about it and they get caught up and they forget to ask about certain things in their planning stages. So I can just help walk them through some of that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
but I wanted to throw that out first thing so I didn't forget that.
Yeah, well, helping some folks get off the ground this year, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's always what DCDC does. But but from our perspective, in terms of our planning, we really looked for guidance from the municipalities in the county, the government agencies in the county, and we like to have some input from them that says, hey, here's really what we want you to accomplish this year. Here's really where we need help with. Okay. Always. So we always look. We always look to those things, and then we actually look at the county's comprehensive plan, and we use that kind of as our guidebook. Guidebook as well. So. One of the focuses from 2022 as an example was promote entrepreneurship, and we felt like we did that really well locally this year. That was a big pusher in 2022, and obviously 2023 we're going to continue that. So it's to assist the people in DeWitt County, businesses or individuals, to open businesses or expand businesses or keep their business open. So that came right out of the comprehensive plan. Yeah. And that of course was a big focus for us in 2022, will continue to be a big focus for us in 2023.
Gotcha.
However, we do want to expand that a bit. So the initial approach with DCDC, if DCDC got a hit in the past, people said, hey, we didn't like this. DCDC maybe was trying to outreach too far and and maybe lost track of some local assistance. And so my push a year ago was to say, hey, we really want to focus on our local folks, our local business, our local individuals, and just help them perform better wherever we can. This year, of course, we want to expand that circle a little bit. So we've taken DeWitt County. Now we want to my goal is to take the surrounding counties or nearby counties and say, I don't want to purge anyone's business from those counties, but potentially there's some expansion. So an individual has a location maybe in, Champaign County, Bloomington, McLean County, for whatever it is. And it makes sense that DeWitt County might have a satellite office or a separate location or, a pizza place, and wherever may want to expand into DeWitt County as an example.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Now, a couple of things you mentioned there. Again, our guest in studio today is Curt Homann. He's the executive director of the DeWitt County Development Council. You talked about hearing from particularly local government, what they want and what, kind of they envision the need of the county being, and also the comprehensive plan of the county. I feel like you touched on it a little bit. Can you expand more on that, what you heard from, or if you've sat down with those, like say Clinton, DeWitt County, Farmer City, and then the comprehensive plan of DeWitt County? Like, can you expand on what you've seen and heard in early exploration there?
Yeah. So, and I'll throw out with there was a lot of change with the county board this time. So, those conversations really with that group of individuals will be coming now more so than it was 2 months ago, as an example. The cities, the municipalities are always ongoing, but we do sit down and ask, and this is one of the reasons we love representation from those, from the city of Farmer City, city of Clinton, to be actually on our board. So we get that feedback more often, but many times it's very specific examples. So Farmer City has some interstate property that they want to sell, and their hope is that DCDC can assist with finding someone to develop and locate on that interstate properties. So many times their requests are very, very specific. Maybe Clinton wants to, develop new housing. So how can we assist in that way? So it's very, very specific requests in terms of those features or those asks, I guess, more so than, well, we want you to, generally expand the overall business climate. I mean, that's just an example. But
well, I had Sue on my show, Sue McLaughlin at Farmer City a few weeks ago, and that was one thing she talked about, like going into 23, they really want to focus on that property off the highway there.
Correct.
And development in that. So,
and that was certainly one of the things we heard directly from the city of Farmer City as well.
Right. Why is it, you mentioned the importance of having that representation on your board, just why is that important? And that perspective, I guess.
Well, I do my best to keep in contact with everyone, but when there's a designated time and designated energies and things can come up at meetings that, hey, we really need assistance with this, or why aren't we doing this, or it's just important to know that there's that constant communication via email, meetings, those types of things, where you have set aside time to specifically talk about economic development in DeWitt County. Other times it's it's something comes up, you hope someone reaches out, but maybe they don't. So maybe you hear about something indirectly that you could have assisted with, so it just makes that communication so much easier.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Anything else in 2023 you're looking forward to? Anything specific you want to talk about there?
Well, yeah, there's all kinds of things. So, some of the things we've been discussing that will happen in 2023, the comprehensive plan, and you kind of mentioned that again. One of the things the comprehensive plan says is that we should market our county as a great place to live and a great place to have a business.
Right.
And that it has always been our focus. That's certainly things I talk about it, and it is an amazing place, to live and have a business. But we don't necessarily market that to the outside world. So ideally we would like to do more of that. Now, sometimes that can be expensive, and sometimes it's you don't always you eventually get the effectiveness of it, but it does take a little bit of time to keep playing that message. But that is something we certainly want to focus on a little bit more as well. So
what makes when you talk about messaging that DeWitt County is a great place to live and establish a business and all of those things, what do you market specifically, and how do local dynamics like maybe government or the issues of the community, like how do you market that, and what kind of things play a factor in making it appealing?
So there's a couple different things, but if a business has employees, which most do, it's really a big part of business structure is the quality of life issues. So will employees want to relocate here, and if so, why? Well, we've got some with the lake, that attracts a lot of people, obviously, that even don't live here. But if it's in your backyard, that's even better. There's a lot of great festivals and activities that go on here. The school system, is good. And I'm not trying to knock any nearby communities, but I can tell you, Champaign-Urbana, they report their first shooting like the first baby of the new year. I mean, literally, it's our first shoot. Champaign-Urbana's first shooting was at 3 a.m. January 1, and you think, gosh, we don't have those issues here, and we're glad not to have those issues here. So safety, quality of life, are important factors. Recreation, those types of things are certainly things we talk about. And then we also talk about regulatory, climate and those types of things. So again,
does that change county to county?
It does, it does. So you can look at COVID activities as an example. And a nearby community was, when there were limits on restaurants, the health department in nearby counties were sending private investigators out and finding people if they had one person too many in the restaurant. To me, that's a little bit of overkill. And I spoke to restaurant owners in that area, and some of which aren't open now. And they just felt it was overreaching, especially when 5,000 people could be in the local supermarket.
Yeah. Right.
And so, they felt targeted. Now, if there's a gross, if they're grossly exaggerating that, but to actually have private investigators come out and count the number of patrons in a restaurant, and if they're one over, they get a large fine, and potentially ordered to shut down. So that didn't happen in DeWitt County.
Those things matter.
Clearly, we want to have safety issues, and those I totally understand that. But there is a point where being antagonistic is
towards your
different.
business community.
Absolutely. And DeWitt County is not that way. It is a business friendly environment. We want business here.
Sure. Curt, I'll tell you what, let's take a time out. How do folks, if they're starting up a business in 23 and they'd love to pick your brain or have you take a look at what they're doing and find, where they could be better or something of that nature, or just learn about DCDC in general? How do they do those things?
So easiest way is to go to the Facebook page, which will have DCDC's contact information and website information on there, and reach out in any way whatsoever. So I always have a phone with me.
Very good. Curt Homann, Executive Director of the DeWitt County Development Council, in studio with us. More to come with him on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and wheat all trading higher at this hour. March corn 6.55 3/4 up 3. May corn up 3, 6.55 1/2. July corn up 2 1/2, 6.07 1/4. January beans up 18 3/4, 14.85 1/2. March beans 14.88 1/2, up 17 3/4. May beans 14.94 1/4, up 16 3/4. March Chicago wheat 7.53 1/2, up 6 3/4. May wheat up 6 1/2, 7.61 1/4. January bean meal 4.95 even, up 6.30. January bean oil up 52 cents, 63.46. Livestock market. January feeders 183.32 down 47 cents. February live cattle 157.25 down a dime. February lean hogs 81.60 down 92 cents. Energy market, February crude oil 74.76 up $1.09. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month and get a free Roku 4 lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
Hey everybody, Buddy Wilson here, your new country financial agent in Clinton. We're all familiar with the 3 whats. What is it? What can you do for me? And what does it cost? At Country Financial, we can help you find the answers with insurance coverage to help you protect what matters the most, all at prices you can afford. While you're juggling work, kids, and keeping an eye on the future, we'll make sure we're one of the first ones there when you need us the most. Call me, Buddy Wilson, your newest country financial representative in Clinton at 217-935-5620. Let's chat about your insurance needs today.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, and good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Curt Homann is the director of the DeWitt County Development Council, my guest in studio here for this morning. Curt, let's dive more into the year 2023 and the things ahead for you. Again, anything specific, whether it be goals, how you're going to approach things, anything you're really going to dial in on? What's ahead for 23 for you?
Well, again, I thought our first segment, we had a lot of good discussion there, and to kind of continue with that a little bit more, I already have several conferences lined up. I actually think, 2023 from an economic perspective, on a nationwide scale, 2022, the stock market was down, interest rates have gone up and all of those things. So we know coming into that, but I also really feel like 2023, people have adjusted, fairly well to the new economy, and 2023, I really think is going to bring some good things for the county. And I think, I think the negatives, even nationwide, we're going to start to come out of those things. So I think we're going to see some positive things.
As you were talking there, that got me thinking, it would be hard to, at least from just layman's perspective, hard to see how 2023 is going to be a good year for business, whether it's in Clinton, DeWitt County, Illinois, beyond. Why do you say it could be a good thing?
Well, I think there's definitely, first of all, owning a business, there's always challenges. But I also think that we're going to be coming out of, I think the vast majority of the challenges we've already been thrown at, with interest rates that have increased, with a slowdown, in the economy. I think we're going to be working out of those things. And I also think that prepares people, maybe that they've been at their job for a lot of years, and they really think, maybe, hey, I've gotten a small raise at work and the cost of everything's gone up 10%. And so I've really lost wages. So I think they're looking to potentially start that side hustle or that small business or those types of things. So I really think it's an opportunity. There's still supply chain issues out there.
Okay.
So I think there's some pent up demand for goods and services.
Yeah.
So,
Now you've been a business owner for many years prior to coming to DCDC. Have times been as challenging the last 18, 24 months that you've ever seen before since in perspective, I guess?
So, from my perspective, I owned a real estate and insurance businesses generally, and 2008 was a tough year with the mortgage crisis, certainly in those regards. But believe it or not, my businesses really tied to the farm economy.
Okay.
So if farmers did well, I had good years. If farmers did poorly, I had poor years. And it took me a while to get that correlation or to figure that correlation out. And it wasn't because necessarily I was selling specifically to farmers. I certainly had farm clients, but the farming industry in DeWitt County really set the tone for other people as well. So either these folks worked, people that worked on farms, or if a farmer had a great year, they were spending more money, and therefore everyone else's business expanded as well, or they had more money to spend. So ironically that was the case. But 2008 was 2007 was for my business was a very, very good year. 2008 was the worst year, for that business. So it was just night and day instantly with the mortgage issue, and that would to be expected in the real estate market.
Yeah.
Ironically, I did have a discussion with a lender the other day. They've been in the mortgage business for 30 plus years. And, and I asked them how, and they weren't from this area. It's kind of someone I had known for a long time, and just I happened to ask them, how is the business? And they said, well, it's really down, And I said, well, houses are still selling. How is that? And why is that? And they said, well, the people buying houses typically right now have assets or have money. And when they're still selling for over list price, or they're selling immediately, or people are requesting, it has to be a conventional loan only, or, there's just some parameters that went along with that, but it's typically not the first time home buyer that she experienced was buying the house. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Well, Curt, I'll tell you what, I can't believe it. We're coming up on having to let you go.
Wow.
How do folks get a hold of you in 23, whether it's, January, maybe it's in June, they're ready to talk. When do they call, or how do they call?
So again, the best way to go in is our the DeWitt County Development Council Facebook page. My phone number is 935-5271. If you remember that on the radio, 5271. Reach out anytime. That phone, if I'm not in the office, which I'm not a lot, that phone forwards to a cell phone for me as well. So
Sure. Very good. Well, Curt, I'll tell you what, got to let you go. It's always good to talk with you. Curt Homann, DeWitt County Development Council, in studio with us. Network News is now.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM, W222 BG Clinton.